You're about to post something you made. Could be a photo, a piece of writing, something you drew. Your finger hovers over the button. Before you can press it, thoughts flood in. Is this actually good? Will people think it's stupid? Maybe I should wait. Maybe I should delete it and start over. You've looked at it 20 times already and it seemed fine, but now suddenly it feels wrong. This same thing happens when you're about to speak up in a group. You have something to say. It's clear in your head, but right before the words come out you hesitate. What if it sounds dumb? What if someone already said this and I wasn't paying attention? What if I'm wrong? So you stay quiet. Later you hear someone else say almost exactly what you were thinking, and people respond well to it. You had the same thought, but doubt stopped you from sharing it. Self-doubt lives in that gap between thinking something and doing it. It's the voice that questions whether you should try, whether you're ready, whether you're good enough. It doesn't feel like fear. It feels like you're being realistic, like you're just noticing problems that are actually there. But what it's really doing is creating reasons to stay still, to not put yourself out there, to avoid the feeling of being judged or failing. Most people assume self-doubt means something's wrong with them, that confident people don't have these thoughts. But everyone has them. The difference isn't whether the thoughts show up. It's what happens next. Some people hear the doubt and it becomes a wall they can't cross. Others hear it and cross anyway. The thoughts are the same. The reaction is different. What's confusing is that sometimes doubt is useful and sometimes it's not, and they feel identical. Sometimes the voice telling you to wait is right. You actually aren't ready. You actually do need to think it through more. But other times you're ready enough and the doubt is just scared. It's protecting you from discomfort, not from real danger. And you can't always tell which one it is just by how it feels. Self-doubt exists because trying things is risky. Not physically dangerous most of the time, but risky in other ways. You might fail. You might look foolish. You might find out you're not as capable as you thought. Those outcomes hurt. They're uncomfortable. The mind doesn't like discomfort, so it tries to prevent it by making you hesitate, reconsider, maybe not try at all. In that sense, doubt is doing its job. It's trying to keep you safe. The problem is it can't tell the difference between useful caution and unnecessary fear. It treats every uncertain situation the same way. Posting something online isn't actually dangerous, but doubt acts like it is. Speaking up in a conversation won't harm you, but doubt warns you away from it. Starting a project you've never done before feels risky to the mind even when the actual stakes are low. What happens over time is people start trusting the doubt as if it's giving them accurate information. They think, I feel uncertain, so I must not be ready. But uncertainty doesn't mean you're unprepared. It just means you're doing something unfamiliar. Everyone feels uncertain when they try new things. The feeling doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you haven't done it yet. The harmful version of doubt creates a loop. You doubt yourself, so you don't try. Because you don't try, you never get evidence that contradicts the doubt. The doubt remains, or it gets stronger, because now you've added an action to the story. I didn't do it because I wasn't ready turns into, I'm someone who's never ready. The doubt stops being about one situation and becomes about who you are. But there's a useful version too. The kind that makes you check your work before you share it. The kind that makes you think through consequences before you act. The kind that says, hold on, did I miss something here? That version catches mistakes. It makes you more careful where care matters. It improves what you're doing instead of stopping you from doing it. The difference is what the doubt leads to. Useful doubt leads to better action. You take the feedback, you adjust, you improve, then you move forward. Harmful doubt leads to no action. It doesn't give you something to fix. It just makes you feel like you shouldn't try. Useful doubt is specific. It points to a particular problem you can address. Harmful doubt is vague. It just makes you feel generally inadequate without telling you why or what to do about it. You see this clearly when you watch how people respond to the same doubt. Two people about to try the same thing, both feeling uncertain. One person thinks, I'm nervous, but let me see what happens. The other thinks, I'm nervous, which means I shouldn't do this. Same feeling, opposite conclusions. The feeling itself doesn't tell you what to do. What you do with it determines whether it helps or hurts. The first thing to recognize is whether the doubt is pointing to something real or just creating noise. Real doubt has a specific concern. I don't know how to do this part yet. I haven't prepared enough for this situation. Those are things you can address. You can learn the thing you don't know. You can prepare more. Once you've done that, the doubt should ease. If it just shifts to a new worry, it wasn't really about the gap. It was about fear. Noise doubt sounds different. It's general and unspecific. I'm not good enough. This probably won't work. People will think I'm trying too hard. There's nothing actionable there. You can't fix not good enough because it doesn't tell you what's missing. It just makes you feel bad. That's the version you need to recognize and set aside. Not because it's lying, but because it's not trying to help you succeed. It's trying to keep you from feeling uncomfortable. One way to test this is to ask what would need to happen for the doubt to go away. If the answer is concrete, like, I need to practice this 3 more times, or I need to get feedback from someone who knows this better than me, then the doubt is probably useful. It's pointing to something real. But if the answer is vague, like, I need to be more confident, or I need to be a different kind of person, then it's noise. Confidence comes from doing the thing, not from waiting until you feel ready. What helps is tracking what actually happens when you ignore the doubt and act anyway. Most people find the outcome is nowhere near as bad as the doubt predicted. They weren't laughed at. They didn't fail spectacularly. They did okay, or they learned something, or it wasn't as hard as they thought. But because doubt is loud and uncomfortable, they remember the discomfort more than the result. They don't update their view of what's possible. They just brace for the doubt to show up again next time. Building evidence against harmful doubt requires noticing when it was wrong. You thought you'd mess up, but you didn't. You thought people would judge you harshly, but they didn't care as much as you feared. You thought you weren't ready, but you handled it fine. Each time that happens, it weakens the doubt's authority. It's still there, but you know from experience it's often inaccurate. That makes it easier to hear it without being controlled by it. Useful doubt becomes a tool when you treat it right. It's a check you run before you act, not a barrier that stops you from acting. You listen to it, see if it's pointing to something that needs attention, make adjustments if needed, then proceed. It's part of the process, not the thing that ends the process. Harmful doubt you learn to recognize by its patterns. It shows up every time, says the same things, predicts disaster that rarely comes. Once you see the pattern, it loses some of its power. People who seem confident aren't free of self-doubt. They've just learned to keep moving when it shows up. They expect it. They know it will try to stop them. They hear it and do the thing anyway. That's not fearlessness. That's just understanding that doubt is a feeling, not a fact. Feelings pass. What you do while having the feeling is what matters. Self-doubt doesn't disappear. Even people who've done something 100 times still have moments where they question themselves. The difference is they've built trust in their ability to handle uncertainty. They know they can start something without being sure it will work. They know they can try and fail and be okay afterward. They know discomfort isn't the same as damage. That knowledge doesn't eliminate doubt. It just makes doubt less controlling. What you're aiming for isn't the absence of self-doubt. That's not realistic. What you're aiming for is a working relationship with it. You hear it, you evaluate whether it's giving you something useful, and you decide what to do. If it's useful, you adjust. If it's noise, you acknowledge it exists and move forward anyway. That's a skill. Takes practice. Every time you do it, it gets a little easier. Not because the doubt gets quieter, but because you get better at not being stopped by it. The harmful side of self-doubt is real and it's worth addressing. Keeps people stuck in place. It stops them from trying things they could handle. Convinces them they're not ready when they're ready enough. It turns potential into paralysis. Recognizing that version and refusing to let it make your decisions changes what you're willing to attempt. You stop waiting for permission from yourself. You just start. But the useful side is also real. Self-doubt keeps you honest. It makes you double-check. It prevents the kind of overconfidence that leads to bad decisions. Keeps you learning because you're aware you don't know everything. People with no self-doubt at all tend to stop improving. They don't listen. They don't question their assumptions. They keep doing things the same way even when it stops working. A complete absence of doubt isn't confidence. It's arrogance. And that creates different problems. The balance is holding both at once. Being uncertain and acting anyway. Knowing you might fail and trying regardless. Recognizing limits and pushing against them. That's not a contradiction. That's how growth happens. You don't wait until you feel capable. You act until you become capable. The doubt is there the whole time. It doesn't leave. You just stop giving it veto power over what you do. What changes over time is your tolerance for discomfort. Self-doubt is uncomfortable. It makes you want to retreat to familiar ground, to things you already know how to do. But every time you push through that discomfort, you expand what you're willing to try. Things that used to feel impossible start to feel difficult but doable. The doubt is still there, but it's less overwhelming because you've been through it before and survived. You've built proof that you can handle it. This is the real work. Self-doubt isn't the enemy. It's part of being human, part of trying things that matter, part of caring about outcomes. The question isn't how to get rid of it. The question is how to keep moving when it shows up. How to tell the difference between doubt that's helping and doubt that's just stopping you. How to build a life where you act on what matters to you instead of what scares you. That's ongoing. The doubt doesn't end. But your relationship with it can shift. And that changes everything else.